Hey everyone, Pan Richard here, and welcome to episode 12 of the Bomberman Hero playthrough. In the last episode, we finished off Area 2 of Mazone Star, and in this episode, we'll be finishing off the rest of the planet here with a Nitros battle. Yeah, so that's why we didn't really have the Nitros battle to end off the last episode, so it kind of had a bit of an anticlimax for that area. Reason being is because we're moving on to the Nitros fight here. And the Nitros fight here, we have two new features to worry about. One of them being your standard additions to a Nitros battle. The other one is really odd to adjust to. It's very annoying to adjust to, but, you know, this is probably the most hardest one compared to all the Nitros battles in this game, in my opinion. And ultimately we'll be combating over the disc that we'll be learning more about in this episode. But the target score here is 6.5k. He doesn't have his barriers this time to help him out, but you'll notice red circle panels. Those red circle panels, upon activation, will cause them all to ignite a pillar of fire. That one's not so bad. The second one you might have seen just now is the red line bombs that he has access to. Red line bombs. Oh geez, he would just like pull it off instantly upon getting damaged, and sometimes you don't really get that downtime to know that he's gonna do it right away. So yeah, you gotta keep a very large distance between yourself and Nitros each time you damage him, or else you're gonna get caught by red line bombs each time. And again, it's kind of funny how like something so traditional in a Bomberman game we don't have access to, but an enemy does in the form of Nitros, and it's just a little bit of a jip. But, you know, it is what it is at this point. Target score is 6.5. We're kind of inching it close here, but we managed to get it just fine. And honestly, that's pretty much the hardest Nitros fight in my opinion because of the red line bombs you have to be wary of. Other than that, we managed to get our 5 rank, and that's what it is. And yeah, so now we're going to be seeing the purpose of these discs and why they exist. And throughout this game, heck, I couldn't even remember at the start of this playthrough, but ultimately we are advised by this by Million here essentially to use the 3 discs along with the one that we have, and they're hidden somewhere in this Mazone Dome here. And each stage that we go through to get these discs, we are going to be experiencing an interesting gimmick for each and every one of them. Some of them are kind of like basic generic, some of them are kind of like, could be better, and others are like unique in a sense. So that'll be what the next 3 stages are all about here, as Million advises us that we need to get those discs in order to keep them safe from Garradin. And yeah, so we'll be getting into that shortly, but there's also a bit of an interesting thing when we go through these stages the first time. Essentially it'll introduce us to a hub. So starting off with Air Room here, it'll highlight which one that we have to go to first, and they're all labeled here: ZeroG, Mirror, and Air. So first room here, the Air Room here, it's a target score of 4k points, and this sort of gives us the whole like sequential segments that we have to go through to make sure that we have all of the points here in this stage. We also have our first ad hoc bomb here in this area as well for this stage. So what we're doing first, we made it to the top left. Now we're going to go to the bottom left right over here. I routed it out similarly to how I routed out the that coaster one, but thankfully this stage isn't as bad as the coaster one in Canatia, so I don't mind routing this stage as much as I did the roller coaster. Never gonna have to go through that again. So next one here, we're gonna go to the bottom right, make sure that we get all the gems. And at the same time, this will grant us access to our ad hoc bomb, as you see right over there. We just gotta make a leap of faith here to make it to the center. Oh geez, what the heck? Okay, so that was a first. Apparently I went so far that I went past the platform and hit the enemy's long nose there. That's a new enemy type, by the way. But yeah, we got our attic bomb right there. So next layer we're going to is the second layer here. As you saw, we have one of those bullet enemies there that we killed off right away. Or I think it was one of those what's it called? It's one of those pointy nose enemies. But in any case, next thing we're gonna do is head to the top left here, which doesn't bring us anywhere, so that was my fault there. We actually go to the bottom left here to bring us to the third layer right here, kill off the bullet shooting enemy here, and essentially we need to go further down to the bottom left here in order to grant access to the 4th layer here. We're going to kill ourselves that pointy-nosed enemy and bring ourselves further up to the 5th layer. And thankfully dodge that homing bullet there. And once we're on the 5th layer here, we're going to try to get as much of the exploration done here as possible. So we're actually going to go back further down to the 3rd layer and use this air vent to collect the gems that we got here. So we should be done with all 5 of the layers now. Almost done. There we go, and we got our additional heart container thanks to the 200 gems that we picked up. And what else do we have to pick up here? There's just a couple more paths that we have to go through in order to make sure that we have everything. So we're going to the right side here to pick up our heart piece and some gems. And to the left side over here, it'll grant us access to the end stage, but we need that disc in order to open the door. So they kind of act like how the card keys were back in Planet Bomber. But in order to get that disc, we need to make a bit of a leap of faith to that air vent that's right in front of us right here. And there we go. Making it to the gems, and we have ourselves our disc. So all we need to do now, I'll just get this extra 50 points just because, and we are done. 4,050 points to get us our 5 rank. Alright, next up over here is our ZeroG Room. ZeroG is being all the way to the top right here. As you might have figured out what the G might stand for. Actually, we'll get there once we get there. So, for now, that drop, you need to make sure you get all the gems because you're not going up to that elevation again. And we have ourselves paper airplanes here that are bonus points, essentially, because of how they disintegrate upon trying to attack Bomberman here. But you can only attack them after or while they're in motion, not while they're in paper form. Not while they are not in airplane form, in other words. But yes, the target score is 4,000 points. Second attack bomb is in this stage. We will be using the gimmick of this stage to get there. But before we activate that gimmick, we gotta get as much points as we can. Because with the gimmick on, it would just make point collecting much more of a hassle in the long run. A lot more slower, that's for sure. Okay, thankfully we dodged that enemy just fine there. Didn't think we had enough space there, but luckily I trust my instincts there. And picking up some gems over here. Yeah, again, I really do like these 3 stages because they all introduce gimmicks that are unique to this area alone. And it just more so extends on what this game has to provide in terms of difficulty and stage design. And did that other one fall all the way down there? Okay, I'll just get him later if I didn't get it. But yes, we got ourselves our diamond over here, and time to activate the main gimmick of the stage. ZeroG, the G stands for gravity. If we explode this switch over here, we are now in zero gravity mode. So we can jump really, really high, but unfortunately our movement is very slow. So I didn't get to kill that other enemy there, so I'm gonna kill it here right now. If I can reach him. Maybe a bomb cape will do fine here. But yeah, all of Bomberman's movements are very, very slow. So the only thing that he benefits off of with this zero gravity mode is his jump height. So we're going to be using that to go all the way up here. There's another paper airplane. I'm not going to bother with it because of how slow our animations are. For some reason, our animation is slow, yet the enemies still move at regular speed, which what kind of sense that makes, I don't know, but whatever. I guess it's just to add challenge for Bomberman himself. So, it's going to be a little bit of an issue trying to get these enemies here with just bomb tosses, but, you know, it's all part of the challenge, right? It's things that we have to adjust to, and thankfully the, our 4 blast radius was able to reach them, so we didn't have to be as accurate as we normally would have to be. So, as you see here, our second attack bomb is right over here, and that's pretty much all of the attack bombs in this game. So there's no more attack bombs to worry about as we're closing into endgame here with the main campaign of this game. Next up over here, we need to activate... Oh, geez, I hate that thing with the bomb drop sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't, like, fully resolve right away and inform the game that I'm kicking when I press the button twice in a row here, but... activating that switch will cause that lift to go up to gain us access to that disc there. By the way, make sure you get that diamond because upon first go, it's very easy to miss unless you just jump randomly when you're on top of that ceiling there. But yeah, we managed to get our target score just fine and dandy. All of the paper airplanes that we destroyed was enough to get us additional bonus points that we didn't really need. And there we go, we got ourselves our 5 rank and we are done with this stage. Alright, next up over here is the Mirror Room. Mirror Room is pretty much what the name implies, and my personal favorite of the 3 gimmicks is because you have to rely on your reflection here to advance forward. It kind of reminds me of a Mario Maker level that I saw that had that shared this gimmick as well. So ultimately, there's going to be some platforms and walls that you're going to see on your reflection, but not on your side here. So actually, it kind of also reminds me of how Paper Mario handled that one dungeon, like near endgame dungeon 2. And I don't know, I really like gimmicks like this that allows you to practice your depth perception and whatnot. But yeah, so that's pretty much the gimmick of this stage here. Just gotta make sure that I'm doing this right because there is a peculiar way in order to get the target score here, which is 3.5k points. You could also see a bit of a clue here as well, because like the purple represents the walls, and the blue represents the path that you could like go through essentially. So that's pretty much the whole gimmick of this stage, using the reflection to your advantage is what we're going to be doing right over here as we hop across here in order to get some additional points. Just gonna do a little bit of a intriguing jump here, make sure that I don't fall off. And we'll need to collect these gems in order to get ourselves close to the 5 rank because we already got all of our add-up bombs, so there's no additional bonus points that we can get in these stages for the most part. And thinking about it, this is actually the final regular stage before we get near endgame of the main adventure. So yeah, what a nice stage to end off on in my opinion. So we're gonna activate this switch right over here, which will cause this gate to activate, which allows us to go through the mirror side of the stage. So now we have access to everything that was on our reflection and essentially just pick up the rest of the points here. Unfortunately, they're all pretty much the same. Like everything here is pretty much the same layout and everything, including what's in the crates, like the fist that you saw that tried to damage me. But there's one peculiar gimmick here on this side of the mirror that can get some people off guard. It's your bomber ghost right over there. The bomber ghost there will just toss bombs at you while you're on this side of the mirror here, and essentially the blast radius of their bombs isn't really that strong. It's like maybe a level 2, so it's nothing really to write home about, but it's still a bit of a nuisance sometimes. I guess next thing I'm gonna have to do over here is to gain access to the gate right over here in order to get ourselves additional points right over here, including 1k points from that rainbow diamond. And thereafter, we'll need to fall a little bit down here in order to gain access to the mirror's reflected path here, and essentially just destroy one of the enemies that we're going to be seeing shortly, wherever it is. Did I say 3.5k? It might have been a little bit more points. I get the feeling that's 4,000, but I could be a little bit off there. The thing is, we have that disc to pick up, which will give us an additional 50 points. So I think I might have screwed up my notes in that part there, but regardless, I think we already have the disc. Oh, right. No, never mind. We're fine. We're fine. We managed to reach our 3.5 target score, which gets us to 5 rank. So, now we're back to this hub. It'll be the last time you'll see this hub, as we're going to be going into a boss fight here versus Nadia, the cat creature that we saw at the very beginning of Canatia Star. And this boss fight, oh boy, I don't know what to think about this one, because man, it throws quite a bit at you, and it's indicative as to how the difficulty of these boss fights are going to be, especially because we're nearing end game. And it's actually going to be a two-parter. They've always been two-parters in previous boss fights, but in this case, the two-part segments of this boss fight can't be any more obvious in terms of how you need to adjust in terms of strategy. And as you've noticed here, turns out this Princess Million is helping Garradin, and it turns out to be a disguise that Nadia put up. Lovely. So we just unwillingly, or unknowingly helped out the villain, essentially. So, great, fun. The whole reason why the disc exists is to revive Lord Bagular. Bagular being a very prominent figure in the Bomberman series as well, even showing up in the recent Nintendo Switch game. But yeah, this will be a two-parter here. We're not only going to be fighting Nadia, we're also going to be fighting Cronus. Cronus is part 1, Nadia is part 2. The target score here is 5.5k. You might think that's low, but it's for good reason, because there are so many strategies that you have to apply here to the stage. And I am doing very bad in my initial run right now. Lovely. But ultimately, just try to goad Cronus into using his lasers a lot. Because this attack here wastes quite a bit of time in order to dodge it, or else you might as well just take the hit to sort of like speed it up a little bit. But ultimately, you want to damage him while he's doing his laser move here, and this run can't go any worse here right now, because this is a very, very, very poor performance here. We already lost 3 health pieces here while we're fighting off the Cronus part. So after Cronus is done, we're now facing off with Nadia here. Nadia has a very long-range whip, and if you constantly keep throwing... What? I've never had Nadia land in front of me before. But if you keep throwing bombs towards her, she'll constantly keep hopping away. But this will allow you to essentially damage her while she's in that animation. Because in that animation, she's still very vulnerable. And I'm being very lucky in my RNG over here as to what kind of movements and behavior she's doing. So, you know what? I'll take it. Whatever. We got ourselves our 5 rank, so I'm not going to complain. We did it. I am very surprised that went so smoothly, so considering how I hyped that up, wow. Alright, whatever. I'll take it. A win's a win. So, now we just finish off the Nadia, and now we finally have Princess Million within our grasp here. She's not going to teleport or anything this time. And we have ourselves a little bit of an exposition to the final planet of the main campaign of this game. And yeah, it's going to be a rough one, that's for sure. You'll be finding out what its gimmick is in the future, in the final episode. But yeah, ultimately, we are going to be stopping Bagular. Bagular debuted in Super Bomberman 3, if I recall. He showed up in other games like, he showed up in Bomberman Jetters, I believe, actually, as a cameo. But then he also had a prominent role in the anime itself. And, yeah, he showed up in the recent Nintendo Switch title, Super Bomberman R, renamed as Bugler or something along those lines. It's a little bit odd, but yeah, as Bomberman being the hero as he is, he doesn't want to put Princess Million in danger because, man, how many times have we saved her throughout this entire game? What kind of contributions can she actually give? I don't know. Based on her performance of this game, whatever, who cares? It's just a very generic plot. I don't know why I'm dissecting it, but in the next episode, actually, I keep forgetting there's always a bonus stage at the end of every single planet we finish the first time. It just shows how inconsequential or meaningless those bonus stages are. But we got ourselves a gold rank here, thankfully. And yeah, our bonus stage here is very short. It gives us the fireproof jacket right away, which is odd, but compared to all other bonus stages, there isn't really much to this. There's just a couple of gems and maybe a 1-up, and that's it. I don't think there aren't even any health power-ups either. Which I remember when I went through here the first time, I was like, why aren't there any health power-ups? It's just odd, and the time here is very inconsequential to how your performance is overall in this stage. I don't think they really count it in terms of how it can contribute to the next stage, essentially. But yeah, it's just these 3 lifts at the first part here, and the second part here is just this lift that'll bring you up to these power-ups and a 1-up at the end. And essentially, that's pretty much it for the stage. So it's just a couple gems over here, which gives us a bit more leeway in order to get to the next health extension. I don't know if I'm actually going to do that, but yeah, ultimately, it's just those 3 lifts, and this lift that brings us to this cliff here that will just get us some more gems and 2 1-ups, and that's it. That's it for the stage. So yes, in the next episode, the finale of the Bomberman Hero playthrough will be taking on the final planet here, which only has a single area, Planet Garridon, Garridon Star. Until next time, take care.